In the midst of an imaginary world succumbed to the waters of fate, a doubt arises as to whether fate is truly reliable. It is something that can lead someone to different endings with different choices. However, there are also those who believe that no matter the choice made, in the end, the individual will always be led to the same conclusion as a presumed life trajectory. One day in this world, monsters invaded the land, and the population began to fall into unimaginable chaos, causing even some citizens to lose hope. While some succumbed to the ground in fear, others ran, pleading for their lives in the face of the strange beings that came to bring torment to the earth. However, on a certain day during their escape, a group of humans realized they were in a dead end when they encountered a cliff. In this situation, everyone tried to hide, but in such a flat place, there were not many spots for humans to conceal themselves from the monster. As a result, they hid behind some rocks that paved the plain, and one of the girls cried in despair, praying to the heavens that the creature would not find her. Yet at the moment when one of her tears fell onto her chest, the terrible monster appeared in front of her, having been guided by the tiny noise. In her final moments, the girl begged for mercy, but the being she was conversing with was not a normal human with empathy to stop its actions. Thus, the monster did what was in its nature, and hidden behind another rock, a boy with green eyes questioned if this was the phantom star. He realized that the beginner tests were quite difficult, and thought he had to survive for 5 minutes to complete the job change. However, considering that there were only ordinary people in this place, he believed they wouldn't survive even for a minute. The boy's name is John Kai, and particularly now, he was participating in a beginner's test on this planet called Phantom Star. Phantom Star is a giant star that suddenly appeared near the Earth's region 50 years ago. However, the appearance of Phantom Star unexpectedly did not cause any gravitational disaster on Earth that could make it lose its orbit. Nonetheless, after its appearance, the animals and plants on Earth suddenly transformed into monsters called celestial monsters, causing havoc worldwide. Celestial monsters are beings that current human technology cannot resist, and their emergence plunged the human race into a state of helplessness. However, during this period of fear, some surviving humans discovered that various teleportation matrices began to appear on Earth. As soon as humans passed through the redirection matrix, they were teleported to Phantom Star in digital form. But when people arrived on Phantom Star, they discovered it seemed to be a virtual world of intense hyper-realism. In this place, humans could change their jobs to various professions, and everyone gained some value along with equipment and skills. All of this could be evolved like a game character to obtain powerful attributes. After a while, they discovered that after evolving to a certain level in the digital world, a person could bring this surreal power back to Earth. Thus, people in the real world became as powerful as on Phantom Star, even able to physically fight against celestial monsters. In summary, if the current human race wishes to overcome this desperate situation and survive, they need to gain power through Phantom Star. These people who go to the other world in search of power are called explorers, and the protagonist is among them, but in a very complicated moment. Facing the massacre the test monster was conducting, Jang began to lose hope, as now he was the only one alive. Looking around, he realized in front of the abyss that there was no possibility of escape. At this moment, the monster headed towards the last refuge to finish off the remaining human, so the hero began to lament for deceiving his family. He remembered that when he decided to enter this place, his sister supported him, telling him not to worry as his siblings would take care of the expenses. The boy's sister was a girl who suffered greatly at a young age just to help him reach Phantom Star. And his older brother is still trying hard despite suffering from kidney failure, which would worsen if he couldn't achieve the value needed for surgery. However, there is Jiang in a position where he was not only unable to complete the job transfer, but also spend all his family's money to die. Amidst this tremendous amount of lamentation, just as the monster was about to finish him off, the boy decided to still fight for his life. He starts to run, thinking that instead of sitting and waiting for his death, he will risk everything for the sake of his family. Fortunately, he manages to escape the fatal blow, but it still hits his shoulder, and now the hero is determined to seize the only chance he has to survive. With this, Jay makes a cruel decision and jumps off the cliff, knowing that the probability of surviving is higher than facing that monster. At this moment, however, a notification sound is heard, and before the protagonist's eyes, a window opens commenting on his behavior. Being something very consistent with the player's behavior, the message congratulates the hero for triggering the 1 in a million chance of obtaining a hidden career. Finally, the secret profession message appears, informing that the transfer was successfully completed and that the protagonist obtained an honorable hidden profession. After a long fall, the hero finally lands on the ground and luckily survives because his fall was cushioned by some trees along the way. Shortly after, the protagonist wakes up, questioning what happened next to a river whose current flows south. He wonders why he is not injured even after jumping off a cliff, and understands that the injuries previously sustained were all healed. At this moment, the system appears, opening a rift in space-time before the boy's eyes. The system appears in the form of a beautiful girl and informs that since the job transfer was successful, his basic attributes will be updated. In the end, this was equivalent to being resurrected with full health, so Jiang decided to ask if the girl was the brain of the artificial intelligence that exists in the place. However, the girl merely lists the player's new talents, starting with a double talent that doubles any reward or punishment. There is also a 1% chance of triggering a super double effect, increasing rewards and punishments by 10 times. With this, it is said that since the hero activated the talent at the same moment he gained it, he will get another, leaving the protagonist quite enthusiastic. Thus, Jiang's secondary talent effect appears, being the super critical, which increases damage by 200 times but with only a 1% hit rate. After having an overview of his status window, the hero realizes that his 4 basic attributes total 36 points. He comments that the total attributes of a normal person after the job change are usually around 20, so it is said that this is due to the double talent. Thus, the protagonist understands that when evolving on the Phantom Star, he will receive for each level the equivalent of 2 people's evolution. Additionally, he also has the second talent, Super Critical, which differs greatly from a normal person's critical punch that only achieves a 2-fold multiplication. Even with only a 1% chance of hitting, if Jiang can increase his critical rate, the damage caused by the skill in the future will be terrifying. After analyzing his situation, the hero looks ahead and notices a weapon typically used by monsters stuck in the river. Initially, Jiang's plan was to change class and go to Earth to make money because no matter how weak it would still bring some money. However, he did not expect to accidentally trigger an additional job transfer judgment, thus becoming a powerful hidden player. Thinking about it, Jiang believes that perhaps he can quickly reach the value needed for his older brother's surgery expenses and thus provide good conditions for his family. However, he knows that completing the job transfer in the beginner test is just the first step, with other challenges ahead. For example, the biggest goal for every beginner is to complete the first test, which involves reaching the city of Shenzhou in just 7 days. It is known that this will be a very difficult mission to complete because the test area is filled with monsters, and in case of death, he will be teleported to Earth. It is said that even if a person dies on Phantom Star, they will not suffer any damage on Earth and can re-enter the place after some time. However, this is only something manageable for the rich, as entering the star requires a lot of money, leaving the hero without a second chance. Then, with a terrifying noise coming from the end of the forest, the hero's first challenge with his new abilities presents itself. It hides behind a tree, understanding that this cry is quite familiar. At the same time, a huge serpent appears, attacking a man who is defending himself with his eyes closed in fear, throwing punches wrapped in a mysterious energy. This is Jiang Kai's longtime friend Yuan Zhu, who despite seemingly having a powerful ability, is still afraid to fight against the monsters. From behind the tree, the protagonist realizes that the person being attacked by the land snakes is his friend and thinks that they are highly poisonous. Knowing that a single bite is enough to kill a person, he shouts to his friend not to be afraid and heroically appears at the scene to save him. In response to his old friend's appearance on the battlefield, Yuan questions why the hero is there. Given his situation, he continues to cry and begs Jiang to leave because the snakes have very high attributes and are extremely poisonous. It is said that beginners like them have no chance against the snakes. However, at this moment, the protagonist throws his weapon, piercing one of them with precision and killing it. This leaves the boy very surprised by his old friend managing to kill one of the land snakes. However, this was as the hero thought, because before leaving, he had planned to use his acquaintance as a distraction for the snakes and attack them from behind. Following their instincts, the snakes show their fangs and move toward the boy to devour him completely. Jiang's friend, however, shouts to his colleague, warning that the snakes have much higher agility than normal humans. Nevertheless, the hero easily dodges all the snake attacks, demonstrating all his agility acquired after the system update. With this, Yuan is even more impressed by his friend's ability to dodge at high speed. The hero, for his part, knows that his attributes were multiplied after the job change, being equivalent to a level 2 person, which surpasses the level 1 snakes. In this case, the protagonist holds his weapon tightly and tells his friend to keep attracting the snake's attention. Finally, after much struggle, Yuan is disbelieving because he only distracted the snakes for a moment and soon all were killed. Jiang, on the other hand, looks at the system window, thinking that his profession should be of low strength and high agility, but he can also deal damage. In the end, he believes that the iron spear he took from the human-faced monster could be a really good piece of equipment to increase his strength in the beginner area. With the fight over, Yuan appears, hugging his friend with all of his strength and praising him for the strength he showed in combat, even as a beginner. In response, the protagonist pushes him away, saying that he was just lucky to have completed his job change and obtained the player profession. Yuan doesn't quite understand what that means, but explains that his profession is also not bad, being a martial artist. In this case, it's no surprise that the boy held out for so long, considering that this profession is ranked 5th in the Divine Glory realm. Regarding how many professions exist on Phantom Star, no one knows, but the first thing every explorer has to go through after entering is the job change. As for the type of profession received, it depends on the job change material the person buys before logging into the virtual world. Usually, the rich spend millions to buy good job change material, so they get a strong profession when they arrive. Among the various quality professions are martial artist, paladin, and assassin. In contrast, the poor can only buy the cheapest job change materials, receiving extremely weak professions such as drunkard or beggar. Changing the subject, the hero asks if his friend went to a loan shark to get that profession, but Yuan avoids the question, saying he'll tell the story later. On Phantom Star, anyone can exchange the loot they get for money, and the hero plans to help his family with the money he earns in this world. In this case, they plan to take the carcass of the defeated snakes because regarding items from Phantom Star, such as remains and equipment, they turn into cards that can then be exchanged or sold in the system market. Based on the recent fight, it seems the player profession is much stronger than the martial artist profession, which is already well rated in the overall ranking. Suddenly, a girl seems lost in the middle of the forest, making the hero curious and Yuan extremely frightened. Despite being in a hostile place, this person was a simple girl who introduces herself as Su Ai and asks to join the group to increase their chances. Zhang, however, refuses, stating that they do not even know if they can survive alone, which would become even more difficult if they decided to bring another person along. However, Su begs not to be left alone and explains that her profession is that of a healer, which could certainly help in some way. Almost crying, she explains that if the heroes encounter poisonous snakes again, she will be able to extract the venom to strengthen their weapons. In this case, the situation is now a bit different because the healer class is also one of the top 10 high-level professions. Recalling what he has already been through, Zhang believes they will depend greatly on healing the beginner stage, considering that if he hadn't received help from the system, he would already be dead. After some consideration, the protagonist concludes that he will include her in his group, and the two introduce themselves. However, his friend whispers in Zhang's ear that he only changed his mind because he wants to flirt with the girl, which makes the hero quite uncomfortable. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the Divine Glory Kingdom in the city of Jiangzhong, the great base of the Phantom Star Portal number 18 is active. In the Data Research Laboratory, a scientist states that today's wristwatches are incredible because they can locate explorers precisely. A girl appears, agreeing and saying that most wristwatches on the market can be used to detect all the data on Phantom Star. It is said that the better the watch, the more functions it will have, and the girl named Su Lanlin asks the professor how the newbies and her younger sister are doing. Based on the GPS location of the beginner's watches, most have been eliminated. However, the little one has formed a team with 2 people. This information only made the girl impressed by her sister's cowardice because she had specifically reminded her not to join others in this area. This is because in a balancing system, the larger the number of people who gather in the test area, the higher the probability of attracting monsters. 3 minutes after that conversation, while looking at the computer screen, the scientist informed anxiously that 2 human-faced monsters were detected. With that, Lanlin began to fear because a human-faced monster can destroy all the newbies, and she knows her sister wouldn't have any chance of winning. Death on Phantom Star is only equivalent to the death of their characters in the game, not causing physical harm to the body on Earth. However, the experience of death is very real and causes great psychological damage to people because some of them were devoured by monsters piece by piece. Knowing this, she realizes that unfortunately, in the upcoming events, she will have to take her sister for psychological counseling. However, the scientist interjects saying that the girl has not died yet, which leaves her sister surprised. Unexpectedly, in addition to no one dying, the scientist reports that both human-faced monsters were killed all at once. Going back 3 minutes in a virtual world, the monsters started running after the main group, ready to carry out a massacre. Seeing this, everyone began to run desperately for their lives, knowing that these monsters could not be defeated. The hero, however, looked back and understood that his 2 companions were not as agile as he was and that if things continued like this, they would be caught. He then told Yu and Zhu to go ahead while he would hold the monster for the 2, which made his friend desperate. Despite his concerns, the hero was determined that he could handle it, thinking that everyone would die if they continued to be chased. In this case, all he could do was stay and try to fight the monsters one-on-one. Thus, the protagonist promptly uses his weapon to pierce one of the monsters with a precise strike to its chest, making it groan in pain. This made the boy very happy, thinking he had succeeded, but a hand quickly came towards him and threw him far until he was stopped by a large rock. With this, he understands that the human-faced monster seems to have a lot of resistance, making it impossible to kill it with just one attack to a vital point. In his final moments, Zhang believes that unfortunately, he will be killed in the beginner test, reaching the end of his life. In view of this, the girl starts crying and calls Yuan to join in helping the group leader. However, he is completely paralyzed. In the residential area of Central River City, a woman greets a man with tea, asking if he is the benefactor who provided the materials for her son. She explains that she does not know why the man is so optimistic about the boy, as despite being big and strong, he is still quite shy. Finally, she says she believes that if her son encounters a monster on Phantom Star, he will surely run away. In this case, the man serves himself a cup and confirms the mother's intuitions about the boy's fearful nature when facing apparent danger. However, he says he has noticed that no matter how scared Yuan gets, when he sees someone in need of help, he never fails to assist. Thus, with a shout that released all the attention of his soul, the boy charged the 2 monsters, using his martial skills. Even trembling, Yuan questioned whether his friend decided to protect him just because he thought he was a coward. With this, he envelops his fist with a powerful aura and asserts that they are brothers, and as brothers, they must always walk together. Thus, the boy advances towards the monsters with great determination, saying that if they are going to die, they will die together. In an act of determination never before seen in his actions, the boy advances and delivers a powerful punch to the center of the human-faced monster's body. With this, Jiang wonders if his friend is really capable of defeating such an enemy with just one attack. He then understands that even if the damage caused is very low, the control power of a martial artist is truly impressive and worthy of the position it holds. Not only did the boy start helping in this battle, but also Su, who began to heal the hero's wounds caused by the aberrations. In view of this, the protagonist questioned what the girl was doing there since she does not have a combat profession. Embarrassed, she affirmed that she would not leave alone because a healer has to heal the wounded no matter how scared she is to leave. Her father was previously killed during the battle against the wave of monsters, dying fighting non-stop due to the lack of support from healers in the area. Given this, now that her teammates also need support, she definitely does not want to make the same mistake of the past and run away. After a few moments of using her ability, the hero realizes that his body is being completely healed. He then stands up, excited with a smile on his face, and praises the girl for having no fear of death. However, she thinks that despite the three fighting together, the damage is still not enough to kill even one human-faced monster. At this moment, the protagonist remembers what the girl said about being able to extract the snake's venom to increase the weapon's attack power. He recalls this statement to the girl and retrieves the monster's carcass, asking if she can heal his friend and add venom to his weapon at the same time. With this order, she says she doesn't know if she can do it, but assures that she will try her best. Although unlikely, the hero understands that this is the only way they can win the battle if they succeed. Unlike the protagonist, who cannot withstand the human-faced monster's attacks, Yuan can due to his martial proficiency. And though his attack is not enough to kill those aberrations, Su Ai is a healer who can enhance his attack with her buff ability. Looking at it this way, the three are clearly a standard combat combination of shield, heal, and damage in the virtual world. Finally, after a long period of enchantment, the venom extraction is complete, coating the tip of Zhang's weapon with the snake's venom. With this, the hero heads towards the monsters, knowing that a novice's offensive power is quite low. On his way, he asks his friend to control one of the human-faced monsters so he can attack, which is quickly understood. Yuan, for his part, continues his job as the group's shield, and the hero now knows that as long as the three work together as a true team, and if each one fulfills their duties in harmony with the other group members, even a human-faced monster, known as a novice killer, can be hunted by a group of novices. With that, the protagonist once again leaps towards the monster, but now with his enhanced weapon, he lands a vital blow that finishes the creature once and for all. The impact generates a powerful explosion in the forest, causing the sound to echo throughout the area. Then, the system informs the boy that he has killed a level 2 human-faced monster. Unexpectedly, the other group members realize that their combined attack really worked, and thus, happiness along with surprise blossoms. In view of the death of its companion, the mutant human-faced monster trembles in fear, thinking that this fate could repeat. Prepared for combat alongside the main group, Zhang thinks that teamwork really works even though there is another monster to duel. Despite being afraid, the enemy advances, fighting by its most primitive instincts. However, the combat formation goes into effect with excellence. Back in the scientist's monitoring room, the boy's sister is indignant because, according to the Watch's data, the novices killed 2 human-faced monsters. A single one of these creatures can massacre an entire group of novices, so the scientist notes that according to the Watch, Su Ai still doesn't have the skills to kill one. Furthermore, it is said that the explorers in her team are also weak in terms of damage, since they are level 1. Thus, they understand that the killer can only be explorer Jan Kai, who is in the girl's team. However, they notice that his occupation cannot be seen. In this case, Su Lanlin believes this cannot be possible and thinks that someone capable of killing 2 human-faced monsters must have an incredible profession. She wonders what kind of man he is, and back on Phantom Star, the system informs the player that the monsters' corpses can be collected. With that, everyone throws themselves to the ground, extremely exhausted from the battle that just ended. Among the group members, Yuan praises his friend for his cleverness, and the girl comments that now that they have the strength to fight against human-faced monsters, they should be able to finish the tests safely. However, after being rushed to finish the test, the hero explains there is no reason because there is still plenty of time to reach the final destination, the city of Shenzhou. He asks his group to take it easy and relax a bit, leaving them quite confused. To explain himself, he asks them not to worry and explains that the points are calculated after finishing the test. In this case, prizes are given to the top-ranked, and it is said that the equipment granted by the military is very good and greatly helps novices. Given this, Zhang says that now that they can kill monsters and consequently trade for points, they should seek the chance to be among the first. With that, he asks if his friends like the idea of killing more monsters to accumulate more points and ultimately receive the best rewards. Initially, this proposal leaves the two a bit confused, but a few hours later, Yuan is serving as bait in the forest and complains about the fear he is feeling. Faced with so many snakes around him, he almost cries, questioning if he will be the first to die. Then, from atop a tree in a kind of ambush, the hero tells his friend to be braver, given that he is a martial artist who can fight and resist. And in another tree, he asserts that they also have Ai in the group, a healer who can provide support at any moment. With that, when the snakes advance to attack, the protagonist charges towards them to help his friend, saying that dying will not be that easy. Thus, the system announced that Jang killed 3 level 1 land snakes, increasing his current experience to 10 points out of a requirement of 100. He quickly thinks that upon reading the Phantom Star rules, it states that only the one who kills can gain the experience from their prey. And since the hero is currently the only one capable of killing monsters, they decided to let him gain all the experience first. His group decided to let him level up first, which will be of great benefit. This is because as he advances, he can guarantee his team's safety with increasing ease. One day later, the warriors continue to fight until the next nightfall, and the system congratulated the explorer for reaching level 2 and doubling his gains. Thus, he was happy to understand that after killing land snakes for just 1 day, he had already reached level 2. With that, the girl congratulates Jiang on his progress, and his friend asks what attributes change after the level up. In this case, the protagonist states that he gained 20 attribute points, currently having 56 attributes. He acknowledges that it's not much. However, this is enough to leave the two completely shocked and jaw-dropped, as this amount is not normal. With this, Yuan says that he knows leveling up increases strength along with physical, agility, and mental power, but normal people only receive 10 attribute points. Thus, he questions how the hero has 20. Additionally, Ai, who only has 12 points, comments that 56 points is equivalent to a level 4 explorer. To explain, Jiang states that this is a characteristic of his profession, which can double rewards like upgrades, but punishments can also be doubled. Even without understanding, the girl feels that this is a very powerful profession, and Yuan feels disappointed because, compared to him, his class no longer seems so impressive. At that moment, suddenly as a rift opens in space-time, the girl representing the system appears, informing that at level 2, players gain an ability. However, due to the hero's talent, he will receive 2 of them, which makes him happy, realizing that he will now have 2 profession skills. In this case, the protagonist's friend is impressed because the skills demonstrated by the boy are incredible to be true. The system explains that the first ability is called Phantom Hand Flying Cards, which causes a 20% penetration effect when thrown. If the item is a card, the penetration increases by 200%, but the consumption of mental power increases by 100%. Additionally, the second ability is Phantom Eye. The visual range and tracking ability are increased by 50%. Furthermore, the mental power consumption during use increases by 100% and can be improved. These are 2 long-range abilities, and even without knowing how to use them, the hero believes that the player profession is a ranged attack, which will be suitable. Therefore, being stronger, the boy calls his group to farm monsters with more experience points, and Yuan starts to feel a bit jealous. 2 days later, in the scientist's monitoring room, their chief explains to the instructor that even after 2 days, her sister is still alive. With this, Lanlin comments that the novice team's survival indicates that Jiang is a boy who still has a lot of strength left. However, suddenly some people enter the room, and a guard informs everyone in the novice area that the test will become more dangerous from now on. It is said that the superiors detected that Country L sent invaders to invade the novice area of their country this time, which becomes a rare large-scale invasion. Then the supreme commander of the Central River City District, Wei Ying, appears, stating that they must hurry and prepare for the situation. Lanlin, a bit anxious, questions her superior if a mass invasion will really happen. He confirms that even if the information proves false in the future, they will continue without lowering their guard. The information frightens the girl because knowing that the invaders are a group of people from Country L specializing in killing novices from other countries to hinder development. This is because the Phantom Star novice test rules state that advanced players cannot enter the area to help them, so they have to pass alone. However, in Country L, there is an exclusive profession that allows native players to interfere in the game. They can exploit the invader's characteristic to infiltrate novice areas of other countries without suffering a counterattack. Furthermore, the invaders ensure to be as cruel as possible with novices from other countries, giving them horrible deaths. With this, they traumatize them, preventing them from entering the site again and thus significantly reducing the number of new foreign players. Given this, the girl slams her fist on the table, angry, and says that her sister's resistance is very poor to defend against these damned invaders. In this case, Wei Ying asks for the psychological support preparations for the novices since the large invasion has already begun. Thus, for this novice test, everyone starts to accept that there will be no survivors. Back on Phantom Star, the main group walks casually through the forest, searching for new adversaries to increase their experience. However, at this moment, the hero senses something in the bushes and looking back raises his weapon, stating there is something hidden. In view of this, Yuan questions what his colleague is saying since they had already passed through this location before and concluded there was nothing there. Then Jiang, with a serious expression, asserts that the area where enemies exist is in a more distant region. With that, after preparing, he throws his spear with all his might towards the spot where he sensed suspicious movements. Following this, after the spear travels a long distance, it passes through, destroying everything and finally seems to have hit its target. In view of this, the protagonist explains to his colleagues that he hit something and runs, calling them to take a look. Thus, Yuan asserts that they haven't reached anything and starts to think that his friend is going crazy, but they inevitably follow the group leader through the forest. Even in the middle of the night with little light, the hero hit and killed a level 2 short-spine wild boar with ease. In this case, Yuan is very surprised that the protagonist managed to hit and kill a level 2 wild boar from such a distance. Jiang, for his part, comments that no one needs to be scared because these were just his new abilities in use. After finishing off the animal, the system asks if the hero wishes to collect the wild boar's remains, as the spines can be used to craft weapons. Without wasting time, the protagonist accepts the proposal and thinks that currently the Phantom Throw ability has increased the damage of his throws. Additionally, the Phantom Eyes ability is basically a combination of slow motion and a telescope, allowing his attacks to have greater range and accuracy. Thus, Jiang tells his colleagues that he needs just one more experience point to reach level 3, so they need to find another place. At this moment, however, a person laughs from within the water, speaking to the leader of Team 2 that they surely are lucky. From the river waters, something starts to emerge, and someone comments maliciously that they managed to get some snacks right after entering. Thus, the group of invaders emerges from the water, prepared to have fun with the corpses of the novices from the virtual world. Taking charge of the situation, the hero questions the players' identities, and Ai becomes quite intimidated by these men's presence. In this case, one of the warriors tells those kids not to worry because they are not bad guys. Continuing, their leader, with his weapon drawn, states that they only want to skin the novices and then hang them to drain all their blood. Or perhaps, he says, it might be better to start by peeling the boys' skin and attracting the human-faced monsters to devour them to death. With this, another invader comes out of the water, stating that in any case, the superiors this time have only one goal in mind. Jiang looks frightened, but the man merely maintains his malevolent smile, exuding a dark aura. Thus, the leader of the Team 2 invaders concludes by saying that the superior's goal is to ensure that all novices from Glory City fail their tests. In view of this, the girl in the group recalls the identity of these men, being the invaders who come to Phantom Star to kill the novices. Inevitably, this realization left both the hero and his colleague extremely scared. Then Ai continues, saying she has detected that all the assassins are level 3 or higher, and the highest one is at level 5. At this moment, the hero begins to feel disheartened, seeing that even though the situation is bad due to having to face several warriors, there is still a level 5 among them. His current abilities can at best contend with a level 4 explorer. Thus, trying to face a level 5 will be like suicide, unless he can level up. Without further delay, the group leader calls his brothers to start the massacre with the novices. The hero quickly rushes to take the lead in the battle. He calls his colleagues to flee with him and asks them to form a team to separate for now. In view of this, the group leader mocks how quickly the novices run away when danger approaches and asks if everyone living in Shengyo City is so cowardly. Then the leader orders 2 of the assassins to go after the coward who escaped alone, explaining that the other 2 stayed for their troops. The warriors sent are level 3 and quickly start chasing the hero through the forest. Despite praising the boy for being very good at escaping, they get excited as they are now almost catching up to him. At that moment, the protagonist simply disappears from their sight, leaving them confused and lost in the forest. One of the assassins, considering that the boy wants to play hide and seek with them, smiles and says he will cut off the boy's feet when he finds him. Suddenly, from the bushes, the hero's weapon is launched at the most confident of the assassins. Upon seeing the blade, the assassin mocks the attempt to resist, believing he can defend against the novice's attack. However, the spear fatally hits his chest, sending him flying and leaving his companion completely surprised. The force of the throw causes the man to be launched continuously between the trees, destroying everything in his path. The other assassin questions why his companion flew off, and upon asking if he is okay, realizes that the assassin is dead. Thus, the hero reveals himself from behind the trees and, having achieved victory, mocks by questioning if this is all the power of an invader. Holding 3 more projectiles between his fingers, he asserts that the man doesn't seem as strong as expected. In this case, the assassin activates his watch, recalling that the boy in front of him is a novice from Shengjiao, and questions how he killed his level 3 companion. However, upon viewing the boy's attributes, he realizes that he is already much stronger, having 60 points despite being at level 2. Yet the protagonist is not willing to chat and mercilessly throws his blades at the assassin's body. With this, the assassin falls to his knees, groaning in pain before the man he was tasked with killing. With the fight over, Jiang thought everything went well because his attributes were equal to those of the level 4 explorer, easily finishing off a level 3 invader. In the end, the whole idea of splitting up was just a plan by the hero to attract a small number of enemies and kill them one by one. This is because the boy was still a bit below the experience needed to reach level 3. According to what he learned on Earth, if an explorer is killed, it's possible to take their watch and choose to loot their experience. The system informs that Jang killed 2 level 3 explorers, each providing 100 experience points. So the hero quickly accepts the proposal, asking the system to loot the bandits' experience. After stealing 100 points from each of the assassins, Jang finally reached level 3, being congratulated for his achievement. Having reached level 3, the explorer significantly increased his attributes, already halfway to leveling up again. Now his total attributes are 76 points, which is higher than the average for level 5, which is 60. With this, the boy loots the dead bandit's watch and retrieves his weapon embedded in the other's body, now having the strength to return and save his friends. Unlike the protagonist, who won his battles effortlessly, the secondary group was facing extreme difficulties. One of the assassins comments on the martial artist and the medic they found, saying he didn't expect to encounter main professions in a place like this. Upon encountering such quality careers and such innocent novices, they decide to torture them to death. While healing her groupmate with all her might, the girl desperately asks him if the group leader will be able to return. Despite being severely injured, Yuan Zhu tells the girl that he will definitely return, although he always flees when girls chase him. However, it's said that if his friends or family are in danger, no matter how desperate the situation is, he will definitely appear. At that moment, having finished their preliminaries, the assassins announce they will skin the young ones, but like a true hero, the protagonist appears from the forest. Without wasting time, he launches some of his wild boar spines, hitting several of the bandits and killing them instantly. Seeing this, Yuan is delighted, although in his mind he already knew his friend would come back to help. The leader of the enemy group, desperate, questions who is doing this, but obviously he gets no response. Even paying close attention, he cannot see where his target is, so he wonders if Shenjiu managed to get a new profession that can enter the novice zone. In this case, the invader understands that he must run as fast as possible before his captor appears to finish him off. Seeing this, the girl in the group notices the captain of the invaders fleeing with his tail between his legs. Obviously, the hero wouldn't let that man escape after torturing his brother for several minutes without stopping, so he charged towards the assassin. Using all his power, he launched his spear, obtained from the human-faced monster at the man. The spear quickly hit the back of the invader's leader, making him groan in pain and subsequently fall face first to the ground, lifeless. With all the invaders killed, Jiang asks Ai if she's okay, making her realize that her comrade is indeed back. Unexpectedly, the girl wastes no time on banalities of reunion because at this exact moment, Yuan is gravely injured. Unfortunately, the group's healer informs that she can no longer heal him due to the severity of his wounds. In response, the boy coughed while speaking to his friend, saying he knew he would come back. However, he explains with melancholy that this time he won't be able to follow him and inevitably collapses to the ground. Lying on the ground with his last strength, the boy thanks them for the adventures they had together, saying it will become a great memory. As he starts closing his eyes, he asks them to continue alone, working hard to pass the judgment. Knowing part of the blame for her comrade's impending death is hers, the healer cries desperately for Yuan's life. In response, the protagonist calls his friend's name with a bowed head, but quickly throws one of the malefactors into the boy's lap. He informs them that he intentionally left 6 invaders crippled so that his colleagues could kill them and loot their levels, thus fully recovering their health. Hearing this, the girl remembers it's possible to gain experience and return to full health by killing explorers, and Yuan feels embarrassed for making such a scene in vain. The hero, knowing his battle brother was faking, smiles and informs the group they could avenge themselves on the assassins. At this moment, their lives are entirely in the hands of the group, who can show them what a good stay in heaven means. The malefactor, seeing his executioners, understands that what is about to happen will not be good. The group comments that what they will do is called karma, a traditional virtue that should be shown to visitors. Meanwhile, the Data Research Institute on the Stowaway Department in Country L is in complete chaos. One by one, all the bandits awaken after dying in the virtual world, recalling that a newcomer from Shenzhou killed them all brutally. In this case, a senior officer from the country asks what is happening with their invaders, considering that apparently the enemy city has a profession capable of countering them. At the same time, in the kingdom of Shenzhou, a scientist tells the instructor that the information they have is not good since Ai encountered the invaders. Upon receiving this information, Nanan enters into complete despair, knowing her sister is not ready for this. The Supreme Commander comments that, unfortunately, no newcomer has ever escaped the invaders, making it necessary to prepare psychological support. However, the scientist, somewhat awkwardly, says that's not what he meant. Looking at the big screen, he explains that according to the data, the girl not only survived after encountering the invaders, but also leveled up. This information left everyone in complete shock, not understanding what was happening. Analyzing the information, Y questions how it is possible to level up even after encountering such formidable enemies. He speculates that the enemies help them hunt monsters, but the scientist quickly dismisses this possibility. Thus, the only option left is that the girl, along with the other members of her group, killed all the invaders. Given the improbability of this information, the commander drops his glass of water on the floor and stands up abruptly, startling the instructor. Without wasting time, he asks for AI's team data to be shown as quickly as possible. The researcher swiftly opens the group's data, showing everyone's statistics and confirming that all reach at least level 3. In this case, the commander is excited, as it would be impossible to level up so quickly if the group hadn't killed the invaders. Lan, however, is still in doubt given that her sister has a healing profession and the martial artist doesn't cause much damage initially. With this, the only option left is that Jiang Kai killed them all. However, his level and occupation were still unknown to the military. Upon this conclusion, the scientist states that he discovered why the boy's information is unknown. It's due to the lack of a watch. Everyone who goes to Phantom Star needs one to check their information, but the one the boy uses is an old generation, one that no longer connects to the internet. A watch like this hasn't been maintained for over 10 years, leaving the instructor indignant about someone using such an old piece of original equipment. Despite the setback, Commander Wei finds the situation interesting and orders the researcher to gather all the real-life information about the boy for him. Back on Phantom Star, Yuan finds it incredible that this peculiarity of restoring his physical state to normal condition after leveling up. The girl is also quite impressed by her considerable increase in strength. Yuan, in turn, informs that he obtained the Earth Profession skill, now being able to attack nearby enemies. And Ai comments that she gained the doctor's heart in her profession skills, and now her healing power is much stronger. The protagonist believes everything is going as expected because the medical profession isn't very extravagant, being more practical in reality. In view of this, the protagonist's colleague asks him if he will now be able to finish off the invaders since he is currently a higher level than him. At that moment, the hero reveals he is already at level 4, surprising the boy greatly. They are shocked, not knowing how the boy reached level 4 so quickly, and realize that his total attribute is 96, equivalent to a level 8 explorer. In this case, the protagonist explains that when he was escaping, he killed the 2 malefactors who followed him, reaching level 3, and then the others when he returned. This leaves his childhood friend indignant that the group leader is still stronger than him, and the girl asks Jiang what they should do next. In response, the hero says he heard the captain say they were part of the second team of invaders, so now they must hunt down Group 1. Half a day later, in a forest somewhere in the beginner area, several enemy soldiers walked, laughing about the situation they were in. They comment among themselves about the information that Team 2 was eliminated by newcomers and mock, saying they should retire. However, the team captain asked the soldiers to keep their guard up because when the superior mentioned it, he was quite serious. Finally, they continue to walk, and one of them questions if there is really any reason to fear since the maximum level in this zone is 5, and their group is full of those. Meanwhile, hidden behind a tree trunk, the main group begins to prepare against 9 level 5 warriors. Despite the group's fear, the protagonist asks them not to be afraid because with his current attributes, even if he cannot kill them, he can still do some damage. Moreover, it's said that if they are left alone, they will attack others, so instead of defending passively, they need to attack. With that, the group captain notices a warrior running towards him at the edge of the forest with his spear in hand. The assassins quickly realize that this is a rank 4 novice, and one of them is impressed by a player managing to level up in such a hostile place. In this case, the captain sees this as a great discovery and immediately orders his subordinates to eliminate him to count as a military achievement. Thus, the assassins start chasing the hero, who finds himself in a worse situation than before as the main group doesn't break their formation. The initial plan was to lure the enemy, and then Yuan would use his skill to repel them all, taking advantage of the gaps in the skill to finish them off. However, this team of invaders is very long, complicating things if the hero's friend cannot knock them down at once. If any survivor escapes, they can warn the others. Even so, the main group managed to come up with a solution to finish off all the invaders without needing to separate them. Thus, the protagonist fills himself with an electric energy, transmitting power along with an intimidating aura. And soon he charges at the bandits with his spear, thinking that he might need to shed some blood to attract them. This irritates some of the assassins and confuses others, bewildered by the novice's audacity to stop fleeing and face them head-on. A few seconds before the clash begins, an assassin questions where the novice is running to, asking if he is so scared that he has no idea what he's doing. With that, he orders the hero to get out of his way and slashes his arm with his weapon. Unexpectedly, the protagonist takes the hit without defending himself and continues running, thinking he is not close enough yet, leaving the bandit confused. Gradually, they all gather around Jiang, but they are still not close enough for his plan to work. In this case, he resumes advancing against the malefactors but passes by them, dodging all their attacks to draw them in. The invaders' group commander, in turn, questions what his subordinates are doing. He says they are all at level 5 and does not understand how a mere level 4 can dodge all their attacks. At that moment, one of the warriors, analyzing his watch panel, realizes something is wrong and reports to the captain. The initial detection time was too short to discover the attributes, but now he is testing with a better watch. Thus, he discovered that although he can't see the overall attributes, he can still observe the boy's agility, which is about 30 points. This information left the group commander completely baffled by the improbability of something like this happening. Another bandit then says his colleague must be wrong because his level 5 agility is less than 20 points, making it impossible for a level 4 to surpass him. However, the group commander, trembling with fear, knows that it's very unlikely for a high-ranking watch to make a mistake. In this case, he thinks that if the group is chasing someone with such high agility, he's probably just pretending to be caught by them. Thus, the captain shouts to his subordinate, saying they were tricked and ordering them to get out of there as quickly as possible. The bandits understand the message, but it's too late since the hero has already deceived the entire group's formation. So, while they are preparing to run, suddenly a golden lightning appears in the sky, confirming that escape is no longer possible. This is because the martial artist Yuan is ready to strike them all with his newly acquired special ability. This is the Earthquake ability, which when hitting the ground lifts all the assassins, leaving them in a state of vulnerability. Then the hero begins to envelop himself again in his electric aura while thanking his old friend for a job well done. He then asks that from here on, everything be left for him to resolve and starts his offensive, accurately firing wild boar spines. Thus, they fall to the ground one by one, killed by the protagonist's throwing ability, resolving everything at once as planned. Yuan, in turn, is impressed by his friend having killed 9 level 5s in an instant and questions what kind of wicked being he is. The system informs that the hero killed 5 level 5 invaders, and upon looting them, he gained 2,000 experience points, reaching the highest level in the beginner zone. With that, Zhang finally reaches level 5 and realizes that for all higher explorer levels, the experience that can be looted will be doubled. In view of the group leader's achievement, Ai praises him, impressed, saying it was the first time she witnessed something like that, and Yuan asks if they will evolve more. So to avoid any misunderstanding, Zhang explains that he left 4 weakened warriors for his group mates to finish off and loot their experience. Additionally, he comments that earlier, to improve the group's combat power, he killed monsters first to level up, but now he has killed enough. With that, he affirms that after everyone gains enough points, they will head to the finish line, and Yuan and Ai get excited as it's their turn to evolve. While walking through the forest looking for prey, the hero asks his colleagues to keep an eye out because there are many monsters up to the finish line. However, it's said that the closer they get to the end, the scarier the monsters become, and there might also be a boss in the beginner area. At that moment, a roar shakes the surroundings of the forest, leaving the group quite scared. Unexpectedly, from the place where the noise came, 2 human-faced monsters are found dead with their bodies ripped and mutilated. The girl recognizes the corpses of the human-faced beasts, and Yuan questions what kind of being is capable of doing this to mutants of this level. Curious about the reason, the hero activates his Phantom Eye concentration ability. He then observes a certain golden light he had seen before, realizing that some creature of this color killed the 2 monsters. Ai is intrigued by this, but at that exact moment, the creature they were talking about appears, launching an energy blast. Yuan still doesn't notice the attack coming from behind him and continues to question, quite afraid about what these corpses went through. The energy blast finally arrives, hitting both the girl and the hero's childhood friend. After hitting the 2 group members, the creature heads towards the protagonist without wasting time, leaving him scared. Recovering from the attack, Yuan shouts to Zhang to be careful because, considering the attack they suffered, the animal is capable of causing instant death. Meanwhile, the animal's attack hits the hero, who does nothing to defend himself, leaving the group confused. However, due to his extremely high level for the beginner zone, the protagonist inevitably manages to capture the creature with ease. With that, the monster proves to be just a simple hamster, and Yuan and Ai are impressed by the hero's dexterity in catching such a fast animal. However, the protagonist asserts that for him, this animal is not fast at all, calling it merely a fat rat. In response, the hamster becomes irritated for being called slow and claims it was only caught because it was careless. Given the animal's confidence, Zhang unexpectedly releases it to give it another chance to prove its worth. Having gained another chance, the hamster again envelops itself in its golden energy aura and gathers speed with a spin, heading towards the novice to attack him. Seeing this, the hero's childhood friend asks why he is letting the monster go and reminds him that a single bite was enough to kill 2 human mutants. To demonstrate his current strength, the protagonist catches the hamster again with even more ease than the first time. He then throws the animal to the ground, saying it is too slow for him. To illustrate, Zhang starts tossing the hamster from one hand to the other, not giving it any time to react and escape. Thus, the main group is left wondering how the boy became so fast and incredible. At this moment, the hero was strong enough to make a monster responsible for killing 2 human mutants surrender. With the defeated animal in his hand, Zhang comments that it seems the hamster will not run away anymore, and Yuan is shocked, questioning the incredible feat of the boy. The hero asserts that he doesn't know if this rat can be tamed and used as a combat force, but it's still a good deal to collect the human-faced beast's corpses. He also mentions that the other group members are almost at level 4 and urges them to hurry and collect the corpses, and then find other monsters. Ai looks at the hamster, saying it is very cute, and Yuan once again feels disappointed, realizing that his martial arts are nothing special. Elsewhere in the forest, a man walks nonchalantly, happy to finally reach the end of the beginner judgment zone. In front of the man is the mission's finish line, the incredible city of Shenzhou. Wasting no time, he begins climbing the immense palace's stairs, gradually reaching the main gate. With that, the gates open and soldiers emerge, congratulating the explorer for passing the test and informing him they are the guides for newcomers. Their leader, Xiatao, welcomes the boy with the official status as a Phantom Star explorer. However, he comments, placing his right hand on the explorer's shoulder, that unfortunately, someone has already claimed the first place. He also says that ranking is not important, and that it's already great for a newcomer to pass the judgment. In response, the explorer understands he is not the first to arrive, but shows his inventory to illustrate that his level is higher. Thus, the soldier's spirits rise as the ranking is based on points, and with so many monster corpses, many exchanges can be made. To clear his doubt, Xiatao asks how the explorer managed to kill so many monsters, and he just laughs, saying it's nonsense. He states that he is the second young master of the Huang family, and will soon become a high-ranking member of the Xuanwu Guild. He mentions that he received special training before coming to Phantom Star. In this case, the soldier realizes which family the boy belongs to. Being Xuanwu one of Shengyo's top 10 guilds, warrior Xiatao congratulates the boy, saying that with this amount of points, he is one of the best in the city. However, Huangwei boasts about his achievements, not taking the compliment seriously. As for him, taking first place in the judgment is just the first step of his dreams. With a malicious aura, he warns that from now on, as long as more time is given, the entire Phantom Star will belong to him. Meanwhile, deep in the beginner area, the heroes walk in search of prey for the level 3 group members. As they walk, Jiang comments that everything feels strange as they haven't encountered any monsters for some time. He hypothesizes that the monsters might have been scared away by the presence of the hamster, who is quite popular with Ai. Suddenly, a roar is heard deep in the forest, scaring the whole team. Quickly, powerful and sharp claws are seen and more enemies appear. In an instant, a whole pack of shadowless wolves emerges, encircling the heroes' group completely. Among them, one monster stands out with its powerful presence and aura imbued in its claws. This is the boss of the novice area, the Shadowless Wolf King, ready to end all the humans in front of it. The hero realizes that the reason they hadn't encountered any monsters was that they were unknowingly entering the boss's territory. With the pack leader organizing the group, the explorers are quickly surrounded by the wild wolves. Yuan, very scared, says he heard that the Wolf King is a strong creature that has never been killed in the beginner's zone, indicating certain death for anyone who encounters it. The protagonist holds his weapon, trembling, wondering what to do as he could escape alone, but the others could not. Seeing this, the only choice they have is to fight to the death. Jiang tells the two explorers that fleeing is out of the question. With no other options, they decide to work together to kill the Wolf King. Taking the lead in the battle, the hero charges at the boss with his weapon, and Yuan uses his earthquake ability to distract the others. Jiang continues running without looking back while his childhood friend leaps into the air and lands, causing the ground to shake and break everything around. Ai is also determined to help and adds the poison factor to the protagonist's weapon. He now asks to be assisted only, as using all of his abilities simultaneously, he throws the spear at the boss. Giving it his all, our hero aims to finish the battle against the beginner zone boss with just one blow. However, unexpectedly, the spear merely bounces off the animal's tough skin, leaving all group members desperate. In response, the tutorial boss roars, signaling the moment for their counterattack, and all the wolves charge. Even though they are lower-level monsters being commanded by a higher mind, they cause damage to Ai and Yuan, who asks if there's another way. In such a conflicting situation, the hero knows that the Wolf King's defense is very strong, and that he can't kill all the wolves surrounding him. Amidst the noise and abrupt movement of his owner, the hamster wakes up from its confused sleep. Looking around and analyzing the situation, it understands what's happening and blames the wolves for disturbing its peace. While the protagonist fights with all of his might against the wolf pack, the hamster activates its ability to the maximum. It jumps from the hero's hood, rushing through the air, creating wind currents as it passes, and unexpectedly pierces the Wolf King's chest with ease. Jiang can't hide his surprise that the little rat managed to bite through the tough skin of the wolf. To clear his doubts, he activates his Phantom Eye concentration ability and sees the size of the wound, realizing that the situation could change if they attack there. From the start, the throw didn't work due to the high defense of the boss. However, with an exposed wound like this, it's possible to cause damage. With that, Jiang launches another attack at the wolf, but this time with one of the wild boar spines he has kept. The projectile is fired along with electrical energy and inevitably injures the boss when it hits the exposed wound directly. With this, the hero understands that his attacks are working, realizing that he will be able to continue using his phantom eyes to focus on attacking the wound. At that moment, the projectile shines with a strong light, and suddenly, the extremely low probability 200 times critical hit is triggered. The other group members don't understand what is happening, especially Yuan, who witnessed only one strike. Not only were the group members impressed, but also the hero himself, who now receives a congratulatory message from the system for defeating the novice boss. Despite having planned to prolong the fight, he ended up luckily triggering a 200 times critical hit, finishing the monster without problems. He realizes that since he changed professions, he hadn't had a critical hit, making this a normal occurrence now. With their master lost, the wolf pack starts to disperse, wanting to flee as quickly as possible. To prevent this, the protagonist asks if his colleagues can still fight, to which they respond affirmatively. In this case, Jiang charges forward and explains that these wolves, without the king's command, are nothing more than simple lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Yuan and Ai begin to think about everything these wolves made them suffer and become determined not to let them escape alive. Without wasting time, all the explorers engage in battle, but now turning the tide and exterminating all the wolves. Both Yuan and Ai can now participate more in the battle, taking down the monsters without needing help. After a few minutes of fighting, the conflict finally ends with Jiang's group achieving a unilateral victory. Unexpectedly, these novices not only survived but leveled up and defeated the beginner area boss, achieving an incredible feat. Once again, the protagonist explains that he left some of the wolves weakened for his colleagues to kill, and Yuan asks his friend what comes next. Without further ado, now that all the explorers have enough experience, the next step is to walk to the finish line. With a brief time skip, the heroes finally reach the territory of Shenzhou City on Phantom Star, the largest activity base for the country's people. Despite being submissive for a long time, the hamster jumps out of the protagonist's hood and starts to flee, worrying Ai. In response, Jiang assures her that it's fine because he never wanted to restrict the animal's freedom, especially one that helped so much in the final battle. A little further into the city, the group finally arrives at the final reception hall of the beginner's judgment. The guide, Xiaotao, congratulates them for passing the judgment, and Jiang asks to see the ranking of the newcomers who passed the test, which is accepted without problems. At that moment, the young man from a rich family appears with a malicious smile, saying he didn't expect the maid working for his family to participate. He promptly offers to show the ranking to Jiang, and the hero also thinks he didn't expect to see Huang Wei there so soon. Proudly, the rich boy looks at the ranking, claims to be first, and mocks that the boys also made it, but from the bottom up. Other bullies begin to echo his sentiment, calling the hero group losers and questioning how they dared to ask about positions. In his mind, the hero remembers that his sister worked in the Huang household to save money for him to come to Phantom Star. Despite working, the boy often harassed his sister. Additionally, he used his brother's illness to humiliate him. In view of this, Yuan steps forward in the argument, telling the boy to shut up, but he is stopped by the protagonist, who says it's okay. He apologizes to everyone present and informs them that the rankings will be reorganized soon, with his group taking over the top 3. For a few seconds, silence takes over the hall, but is quickly broken by the laughter of the bullies, who mock his optimistic thought. In this case, Jiang tells his colleagues that they will no longer pretend, and Ai agrees along with Yuan, who, when activating his watch, says he is eager. Without further ado, the main group decides to show what they came for, reorganizing the rankings in front of the huge screen by displaying their inventories. In view of this, the bullies are left open-mouthed, not understanding what is happening, as the monster corpses are in the possession of only 3 explorers. Huang is even more shocked to realize that, besides human-faced beasts, there are also shadowless wolves in their inventory. However, when faced with the shadowless wolf king, the boy believes it to be a lie and asks how a mere group of losers managed to kill the boss. The hero, in turn, doesn't bother to explain, saying that the ranking will tell them what is true and what is false. Then, unexpectedly, a notification appears, and the ranking indeed begins to be updated, confirming that the group's points are real. Therefore, inevitably, the arrogant rich boy faces the fact that the group he considered losers managed to take the top 3 spots. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.